know, yeah, I gotta do this real early, gotta do this real fast. Top of the morning. Salute Mikey B. He shouted me out on the YouTube Bloods. Um, and that video that YouTube Bloods we posted, which was dope. Um, Debbie, shout out to YouTube Bloods for sharing any of my content. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? With me, it's about the message getting out there. I don't care about the dollars and cents when it comes to that. So anybody want to share my stuff, you can do it. I'm not gonna zap y'all. I'm not gonna flag it. I do it for the people, man. Um, Definitely shout out to Hip Hop Classic Daily. Now I like what they're doing over there. Go check them out. But I seen one of his old videos, and it inspired me to do this video. It's just like, you know what? What when did things physically start changing mentally in New York, right? Now, I remember um, a movie, Boys in the Hood came out. They had the 2020 special about the Bloods and Crips. We already knew it was crazy with the B's and C's in Cali. We knew that. From watching watching Boys in the Hood, the 2020 special, and other movies that was related to the B and C war. Um, then Mario was popping. Then we have this movie comes out. It's called Menace to Society. Now the music culture of California, we was already listening to. We was already listening to NWA. We was already into Ice-T. Even though Ice-T's from New York, but he was pushing that California music agenda. Colors, remember Colors? Peace, 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 peace from Jersey. Yo, Real Gina was popping, Then we also had, you know, Ice Cube when he went solo. He had King T pushing the agenda. We had the alcoholics. We had different sounds. Digital Underground. We had different sounds that was pushing that Too Short, that was pushing the California agenda. MTA, DJ Quick. So this just to name a few. So when we see Menace, there's different parts of the movie that people took from the movie Menace to Society. But one of the parts that caught a lot of people's attention was Old Dog, the first 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? The first 5 minutes was crazy. Old Dog lost his mind. Now, what did it have to do with the culture? Now, in New York, we had Crips already. I don't know about nothing else. I'm telling you from my eye, Crips. Now, the Crips that was in New York, we know about 118th Street, 117th Street, 119th Street, between 5th and Lenox, those were $1 million money blocks. So, we didn't see like what we see now where 50 guys that get locked up, they wasn't getting no money, but they got 30 shootings and 2 bodies and an attempt in the robbery. It was more; those are still money blocks. So the Crips that was out back then, they was more fashionable. They was getting money. They had big cars. They was in all the hot spots like Club 2000. They was at the Latin Quarters. These dudes was outside. They was on all the scenes that people talk about. The Tunnel. They was the Savoy. They was at the new Feeble and Fat Joe. Only they was at the Castle. These guys was a part of the culture. And they had good names behind them. Just to name just a few, like King Dave and Von Zip. So they was still looked at as New York cats that was getting money on a Cali with that Cali grind. But what Menace did was it infused us. Like, wait a minute, this is crazy. So a couple of guys started throwing a couple of bandanas on. A couple of guys started, switching it up. He had some guys in my neighborhood that went to Kansas City and lost their mind. You know what I'm saying? So the culture started coming in slowly. Moving in slowly and slowly. Like I told you, the Crips is already here, from what I remember. Now, y'all might look at it different, but they was here already. And going back into the culture. But the effect that it had on the culture, was you would have thought that a bunch of older guys would have been in jail and would have created movements that would have been similar to what they do in California. Because remember, Jersey was already on that type of time. Remember, Jersey was the carjack capital of the world. You know what I'm saying? But also, Jersey had a lot of that gang culture. But unless you went to Jersey, you didn't know about it. Unless you was going to New York. But we knew about it through the rappers, like, Naughty by Nature, by, Queen Latifah, the rapper Apache, that was up from Jersey. You know what I mean? Because, New York New York still had its money flavor. It still had the blocks. And then in the penitentiary, the blocks started going to jail due to mass incarceration. It did not, and that's where everything began to change. And the effect of the culture was like, I started to see things change when Dre did Gin and Juice. I remember a crew called Always B that we looked at as, for some of us, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? The Always B cats. Debbie salute, Brooklyn boys, salute. This is knowledge here. No, that I remember. Yeah, Always B Orange Street boys. Those were the first dudes that I ever seen that we looked at, some of us, as gang. Like, if he said, yo, this is like a California thing that were close to Cali, was Always B Orange Street boys in Albany. For those that was in Albany, they already had the bandanas, they had the gang, they had the gang signs already. They was like the first, like, when you said gang. When we came out of town, you still had crews. You're all from Bronx or from Manhattan. We're the GM family. Definitely salute to Mikey B. He home now. We the GM family. We FEB cats. We from the South Side. Then you had Always B. They actually was wearing bandanas. So the culture was flipping over. We just didn't realize it into the penitentiary. Then that culture just flipped over in the penitentiary. I mean, a lot of guys did want to be like MCA. I remember being in the party and they playing "Don't Be a Menace" and dudes just dancing to that. That wasn't even a danceable song. You know what I'm saying? So just for the culture, that's where I began to see things change at. We've been drinking 40 ounces. We've been drinking all English. See, now I just took it to the top. The culture began to change. It's physically. Remember, Jersey was known for carjacking, right? You go to Jersey, you're going to get carjacked. I remember they made movies like New Jersey Drive, you couldn't wait to see. I remember when Spike Lee made Clockers. New York was still deriving off of the money ever. But did that coach, Mike Tompkins, top of the morning. You know what I'm saying? Me and my man was kicking it one day. It was like, yo, the first dudes that we see with bandanas was Always B. They was like organized. They did everything organized. They had the little signs they would throw up. They would toss up. They had a handshake. They had a crib. They was more like California. When you played Gin and Juice in the club, you thought about Always B. You know what I'm saying? Because they was like the first dudes that we really seen that was flagging, and like, other than the Crips and that was in New York, I don't know where anybody else was doing. You know what I'm saying? I could say what my neighborhood was doing or what I seen. Well, you know what I could say in my lifetime. If I'm wrong, hit it in the comments. You know what I'm saying? But for those that was in Albany, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, the early 90s, those are the first dudes that we thought about California. We would say, again, Always B, Orange Street Boys. A lot of those dudes was in DFY. A lot of those dudes was in the penitentiary already. So the name Always B was already out there. There's a lot of dudes that's big homies that got, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, they was very organized. You know what I'm saying? So they was the closest that we seen. They had a crib and all that. Like, they had a crib. And I remember they had some black gangsters, a black guerrilla family thing, something that Al G and them was doing. Rest in peace, Cut got caught up in the situation. He passed away. But there was a movement that Al G had before he became 5'9". He was a part of, him and Capone from the Bronx. They was doing a movement that they was pushing, you know what I'm saying? My man Shafiq was a part of that. Black gangsters, black, something. It wasn't the BGs from downtown. It was something black, family, something they was doing. So when do y'all remember that Al G was a part of, that Cut was a part of? They had a crib, but they was doing the California type of flow before Al G got caught up for his case and sitting in jail for the rest of his life. So they did have effect on us, though. Mixtapes began to put a lot of California music on the mixtapes. You began to hear more MC8. You began to hear more of the Spice Ones. You began to hear a lot of the West Coast flavor. You know what I'm saying? Other than, because Snoop was commercial by that time. Snoop Dogg, he was commercial. Dre was commercial. We began to hear a lot of, at one point in time, John Smith was popping. Was Papino, Dial 4, top of the morning. So I just want to do this flavor because he played a large part to the culture. Like whoa, because after like 9/7, it was a lot of flags on the street by then. By the time 9/7 hit, there was a lot of red, there was a lot of homies, there was a lot of 031s, there was a lot of flavor. And the penitentiary, they was on that type of time. So when you say that people created their own situation in the penitentiary, it was too much in our face. You understand what I'm saying? We had, like I told you, Menace to Society. Definitely, I appreciate that, Josh. But Menace to Society was like, it's what you take from the movie. The first 5 minutes was high flying. The Hughes brothers put together a great movie that became a cultural thing that inspired. I would say inspired what we call now a part of what the New York Blood movement became, because a lot of dudes was already on go. Remember, there was Crips in New York already, so maybe a lot of dudes didn't want to go the Crip way because dudes had issues with Crips already. Remember, the Crips was getting to the bag. You can't talk about Biggie Smalls without talking about the Crips. If you was in those circles, they was at Rucker Park too, because remember, Vaughn Zip, puffing on that was the scene. The sports bar. When you went to sports bar, them Crips was there, popping bottles. But so we still looked at them like New York cats. New York cats get money. Like I told you, it's not like now when 30 cats get locked up for a conspiracy, and then it's like, yo, there's 50 shootings, 2 bodies, and no money. These dudes was getting to the bag. So with that being said, man, I just have to give this 10 minutes, man. That Menace to Society, go check the movie out. Played a major part to our culture and the culture of hip hop. The culture of what New York has come into. That movie was very influenceable. You know what I'm saying? It opened our ears to listen to different sounds. This is before we was talking about Tupac being a gangster. This is when Tupac was still dancing around with Digital Underground. You understand what I'm saying? This is when he was still dancing around before he made his breakout song and it just took over. You know what I'm saying? When we heard Funky Piano from King T, MC Breeze, that was inspirational. We want to see that. We want to hear that. That sound, that lifestyle began to hit us. But the way Dickies in New York back then, you was definitely looking out of place. It wasn't. Dudes are still wearing AVs, beef and broccolis, Vasquez. Dudes are still fashionable. So they walk around with a Dickie suit on with some Converse. She was definitely gonna stand out and look like a nut. So with that being said, salute, top of the morning. Hope you enjoyed this content. And I just have to give it to you real fast. I'm at work. With that being said, peace.